I want you to walk to the nearest mirror right now. It can be the one in your bathroom, the one in the hallway, or even the small vanity mirror in your purse. I want you to open your mouth wide and stick out your tongue. Really stick it out. Look at it under a bright light. What do you see? If you are healthy, your tongue should look a bit like a plush carpet. It should be a soft pink color, and it should be covered in hundreds of tiny little bumps. These bumps are called papillae. They give your tongue a velvety texture. They are there to help you grip food and taste your dinner. But for many of you watching this, specifically those of you over the age of 60, you might see something very different. You might see a tongue that looks like a piece of raw steak. It is smooth. It is shiny. It looks wet and polished, like someone took a buffer to it. It might be a bright, angry, beefy red color. The little bumps are gone. It looks bald. If this describes what you are seeing, I need you to pay very close attention. This is not just a weird aging quirk. This is not just burning mouth syndrome caused by spicy food. This is a scream for help from your internal system. Your body is trying to tell you that you are critically low on one of the most essential fuels for your brain and your blood. You are likely suffering from a deficiency of vitamin B12, and that smooth, red tongue has a medical name, glossitis. It essentially means inflammation of the tongue, but it is actually a sign of atrophy. Your tongue is shedding its coat because your body doesn't have the resources to rebuild it. And if your tongue is falling apart, you can be guaranteed that your nerves and your brain cells are struggling too. Today we are going to dive deep into the mouth to uncover a silent epidemic that affects up to 20% of the senior population in the United States. We are going to talk about vitamin B12, the energy vitamin, and why your ability to absorb it crashes after the age of 60. We are going to connect the dots between that smooth tongue, the numbness in your feet, and the memory slips you have been worried about. We are going to explain why eating meat might not be enough to fix it, and we are going to look at the common medications, like heartburn pills and diabetes drugs, that are secretly robbing you of this nutrient. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to interpret the map of your tongue, and you will know the simple, inexpensive steps to refill your tank and protect your mind. To understand why your tongue looks like a polished red stone, we have to look at how the human body rebuilds itself. Your body is a construction site that never closes. Every second, millions of cells die and millions of new cells are born to replace them. Some tissues regenerate very slowly, like your bones. But other tissues regenerate incredibly fast. The lining of your mouth and your tongue are some of the fastest growing tissues you have. The cells on your tongue are constantly being worn down by chewing, swallowing, and speaking. They need to be replaced rapidly. To make a new cell, your body needs to make new DNA. DNA is the blueprint. To make DNA, your body absolutely requires vitamin B12 and folate. They are the workers that lay down the genetic track. If you run out of B12, the DNA factory shuts down. The body cannot make new cells fast enough to replace the old ones. Because the tongue needs such rapid replacement, it is one of the first places to show the shortage. The tiny papillae, those little bumps, die off, and no new ones grow to take their place. The surface becomes depapillated. It becomes bald. The underlying tissue becomes inflamed and swollen because it is raw and exposed. That is why it turns red. That is why it hurts when you eat acidic foods or drink hot coffee. It is literally a tongue that has lost its protective armor. But here is the terrifying part: the tongue is just the visible tip of the iceberg. If your body cannot make new cells for your tongue, it also cannot make new red blood cells efficiently. This leads to a condition called megaloblastic anemia. In this type of anemia, your red blood cells try to divide but fail. They grow huge, fragile, and misshapen. They cannot carry oxygen well. This is why you might feel tired, breathless, and weak. You are suffocating at a cellular level. But even more critically, B12 is responsible for maintaining the insulation around your nerves. Think of your nerves like electrical wires running from your brain to your toes. Just like a copper wire in your house, your nerves need a plastic coating to insulate the electricity and make the signal travel fast. In the human body, this insulation is called the myelin sheath. Vitamin B12 is the primary nutrient used to build and repair myelin. When you are deficient in B12, the insulation begins to erode. It frays. The electrical signals start to short-circuit. This is why, if you ignore the red tongue, the next symptoms are often neurological. You might feel a tingling in your fingertips or toes. It feels like pins and needles, or like you are walking on cotton balls. This is peripheral neuropathy. If it continues, it affects your balance. You might start stumbling or feel unsure of your footing in the dark. This is because the nerves that tell your brain where your feet are in space are dying. And eventually, the damage moves upstairs. It affects the brain itself. B12 deficiency can cause depression, paranoia, personality changes, and severe memory loss that looks exactly like Alzheimer's disease. In fact, many seniors are misdiagnosed with dementia when they actually just have a severe vitamin deficiency. The tragedy is that the dementia is permanent, but the deficiency is treatable, if you catch it before the nerve damage is irreversible. That is why the tongue test is so vital. The tongue is the early warning system. So, why is this happening to you now? You might say, I eat meat. I eat eggs. I drink milk. B12 is in animal products, and I eat plenty of them. And you would be right. B12 is found in beef, liver, clams, fish, poultry, eggs, and dairy. It is not hard to find in a standard American diet. The problem for those of us over 60 is rarely intake, the problem is absorption. You can swallow all the B12 in the world, but if you cannot get it from your stomach into your bloodstream, you will be deficient. The journey of vitamin B12 is complex and fragile. When you eat a piece of steak, the B12 is bound tightly to the protein in the meat. To rip it loose so your body can use it, you need strong stomach acid. Hydrochloric acid. But as we age, the lining of our stomach thins out. This is a condition called atrophic gastritis. It is very common. We produce less and less acid as we get older. Without that strong acid bath, the B12 stays locked in the food and passes right through you. But it gets more complicated. Once the B12 is free, it has to pair up with a special protein produced by your stomach called intrinsic factor. Think of intrinsic factor as a chaperone. B12 is not allowed to enter the bloodstream alone. It must be holding hands with intrinsic factor. If your stomach cells are damaged by aging or autoimmune issues, you stop making intrinsic factor. This is called pernicious anemia. In this case, you could eat a bottle of B12 pills, and you wouldn't absorb a single microgram because the chaperone is missing. Then we have the medications. This is the big one for our generation. How many of you take a pill for heartburn or acid reflux? Maybe you take omeprazole, Prilosec, Nexium, or Zantac. These drugs are proton pump inhibitors or acid blockers. They work by stopping your stomach from making acid. They are great for stopping the burn, but they are terrible for B12. By chemically neutralizing your stomach acid, you are voluntarily shutting down the mechanism that extracts B12 from your food. Studies have shown that long-term use of these drugs significantly increases the risk of deficiency. Another culprit is metformin. If you have type 2 diabetes, you are likely on metformin. It is a wonder drug for blood sugar, but it interferes with the absorption of B12 in the small intestine. If you have been taking metformin for more than 5 years, your risk of deficiency is high. Your doctor should be checking your levels annually, but sometimes they forget. They focus on the blood sugar and miss the vitamin. Let's go back to the mirror. What else might you see or feel in your mouth? The smooth, red tongue is the classic sign, but there are others. You might feel a burning sensation. It feels like you scalded your tongue on hot soup, but you didn't. This scalded feeling can affect the tongue, the lips, or the roof of the mouth. You might also see cracks at the corners of your mouth. This is called angular cheilitis. It looks like little cuts or sores where the upper and lower lips meet. They can be painful and bleed when you open your mouth wide. This is often a sign of B vitamin deficiency, including B12, B2, riboflavin, and iron. You might also notice ulcers. Canker sores that keep coming back. A healthy mouth heals quickly. A B12 deficient mouth struggles to heal. And then there is the taste. When your papillae atrophy, you lose your taste buds. Food starts to taste bland. You might find yourself salting your food more just to get some flavor. This loss of appetite can lead to weight loss, which further weakens your health. It is important to note that while B12 is the most likely culprit for the beefy red tongue, it is not the only one. Iron deficiency can also cause a smooth tongue, but usually, the tongue looks pale and smooth, not red and angry. Iron deficiency makes you look washed out. B12 deficiency makes the tongue look inflamed. Folate deficiency, vitamin B9, can look almost identical to B12 deficiency. This is why you cannot diagnose yourself 100% just by looking. The mirror is the alarm, not the lab test. So, if you look in the mirror and see the smooth red tongue, what is your next step? You need to go to your doctor. Do not just go to the pharmacy and buy a multivitamin. That is a shotgun approach when you need a sniper rifle. You need to ask your doctor specifically for blood work. But you need to ask for the right blood work. The standard test is serum B12. This measures the amount of vitamin in your blood. It is a good start, but it can be misleading. You can have normal levels of B12 in your blood but still be deficient in your cells where it matters. This is a false normal. To be absolutely sure, ask your doctor to also check methylmalonic acid, MMA, and homocysteine. I know those are big words, but write them down. When B12 is low, these two chemicals build up in your blood. They are the toxins that accumulate when the B12 workers aren't doing their job. If your B12 is low normal, but your MMA is high, you have a confirmed deficiency and you need treatment immediately. The treatment is actually the good news in all of this. It is one of the easiest, most effective medical fixes we have. If you have pernicious anemia or severe malabsorption, you cannot fix it with diet. You cannot eat your way out of it because your stomach is the broken part. You need to bypass the stomach. For decades, the gold standard was B12 injections. You go to the doctor once a week or once a month, and you get a shot of cyanocobalamin in your arm or hip. It goes straight into the muscle and into the blood. It works beautifully. The brain fog often lifts within days. The energy returns. The tongue starts to grow its coat back within a few weeks. It feels like a miracle for people who have been suffering for years. But modern medicine has given us another option: high-dose oral or sublingual B12. Sublingual means under the tongue. Because the area under your tongue is rich in blood vessels, you can dissolve a tablet there and some of the vitamin absorbs directly into the blood, bypassing the stomach acid issue. However, the doses have to be huge. We are talking 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms daily. Compare that to the 2.4 micrograms you need from food. We flood the system so that even if only 1% gets absorbed, it is enough. Many studies show that high-dose oral therapy is just as effective as shots for most people. But you must take it every single day. If you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you have to be extra vigilant. Plants do not make B12. It is made by bacteria in the soil and found in animals that eat the bacteria. If you don't eat meat, eggs, or dairy, you are getting zero B12 unless you eat fortified foods like breakfast cereals or nutritional yeast. As we age, many of us naturally eat less meat because it is hard to chew or hard to digest. We switch to toast and tea. This tea and toast syndrome is a major driver of malnutrition in the elderly. If you have cut back on meat, you must supplement. I want to talk a little more about the folate trap. This is a danger for people who try to self-medicate. Folate, vitamin B9, and B12 work together. They are partners. If you are deficient in B12, but you take a lot of folic acid, which is added to all our bread and flour in the USA, the folic acid can actually fix the anemia. It corrects the blood cell size. So, your doctor looks at your blood count and says, you aren't anemic. But folic acid does not fix the nerve damage. It masks the warning sign, the anemia, while the neurological destruction continues in the background. This is why you should never take high doses of folic acid alone if you suspect a B12 problem. You must treat the B12 first. Let's visualize the recovery. It is a beautiful thing. Once you start B12 therapy, the body responds with gratitude. The first thing you notice is usually the mood. The depression lifts. The irritability fades. You feel more like yourself. Then, the energy comes back. You can walk to the mailbox without needing a nap. The tingling in the hands might take longer to go away, nerves heal very slowly, about 1 millimeter a day. If the damage was mild, it reverses completely. If it was severe, it might not all come back, which is why speed is of the essence. And the tongue. The tongue is the visual scoreboard. Watch it. Within a few weeks of shots or supplements, the angry red will fade to pink. The shiny polish will be replaced by the velvet texture. The pain will vanish. When your tongue looks healthy again, you know your body is making DNA again. I want to address the fear of overdosing. Can you take too much B12? It is very difficult. B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. That means your body takes what it needs and pees out the rest. It is not like vitamin A or D, which can build up to toxic levels in your fat. If you take a high dose of B12, the worst that usually happens is you have expensive urine. It is extremely safe. This makes it a low-risk, high-reward intervention. Let's expand on the brain connection because this is what everyone fears most, Alzheimer's. We know that high levels of homocysteine, which happens when B12 is low, are toxic to brain vessels. They cause inflammation in the brain. They shrink the brain tissue. There was a study from Oxford University that showed that B vitamin treatment could slow the rate of brain shrinkage in people with mild cognitive impairment. While B12 is not a cure for Alzheimer's, a deficiency mimics it so perfectly that every single patient with memory loss deserves a B12 test. Imagine putting a loved one in a nursing home for dementia, only to find out years later it was a vitamin deficiency that could have been fixed for 10 cents a day. That is a tragedy we must avoid. So, let's review the checklist. I want you to be your own health detective. The mirror test, stick out your tongue. Is it smooth? Is it shiny? Is it red? Does it burn? The hand/foot test, do you have tingling, numbness, or a feeling of gloves and socks on your hands and feet? The balance test, do you wobble? Do you have to look at your feet to walk? The history check, do you take acid blockers? Do you take metformin? Are you over 60? Do you eat little to no meat? The mind check, are you forgetting names more than usual? Do you feel unusually weepy or anxious? If you checked yes to the tongue and any one of the others, you are on high alert. There is another oral symptom that is less common but worth noting, bleeding gums. While this is usually gum disease, B12 deficiency makes the mucous membranes fragile. If your gums bleed every time you brush, and your dentist says your hygiene is okay, look at your nutrition. The mouth is the start of the digestive tract, and it reflects the health of the whole tube. Let's talk about food solutions for those who are borderline but not yet critically deficient. If you still have some stomach acid, you can boost your levels naturally. Clams, these are the kings of B12. A small serving of clams has thousands of % of your daily value. Liver, beef liver is nature's multivitamin. If you can tolerate the taste, having liver and onions once a week is a powerful booster. Trout and salmon, fatty fish are excellent sources. Fortified nutritional yeast, this is a favorite for vegetarians. It has a cheesy, nutty flavor. You can sprinkle it on popcorn or mix it into mashed potatoes. It is packed with B vitamins. Greek yogurt, a good source of dairy-based B12. But remember, if you have atrophic gastritis, low acid, food might not be enough. Do not rely on clams to fix a stomach that can't digest clams. Trust the supplements or the shots if your doctor recommends them. I want to return to the emotional aspect of this. It is scary to see your body changing. It is scary to feel your mind slipping. But knowledge is the antidote to fear. Knowing that a smooth tongue is a biological signal gives you power. It takes the mystery out of the symptoms. You are not just falling apart. You are malfunctioning because of a missing part. You can replace the part. Think of your body like a high-performance car that has been running for 60 or 70 years. It is a classic. It is valuable. But classic cars need specific additives in the fuel to run smooth. B12 is that additive. You wouldn't drive your car with the check engine light on. Your tongue is that light. Also, tell your friends. If you are having lunch with a friend and they complain that their food is too spicy, or that their mouth burns, or you notice they are stumbling a bit, tell them about the tongue test. It is a weird conversation starter, yes. Hey, let me see your tongue. But you might be the person who solves their health mystery. We have to look out for each other. In conclusion, I want you to take a moment of gratitude for your body. Even when it is sick, it is trying to communicate with you. It is trying to save you. The redness, the pain, the smoothness, these are not punishments. They are messages. Feed me. Help me. I need B12. Don't ignore the message. Don't assume it's just part of getting older. It is not normal to lose your sense of taste. It is not normal to have a bald tongue. It is not normal to have numb feet. These are solvable problems. So, go back to that mirror. Stick out your tongue. If it's pink and bumpy, smile and keep doing what you're doing. But if it is red and smooth, pick up the phone. Call your doctor. Make the appointment. Get the shot. And get ready to taste your food again, feel the ground beneath your feet again, and sharpen that beautiful mind of yours. Your health is worth it.